You have decided to come to us to share knowledge. So it's not only us sharing our knowledge with you guys, but also I'm looking forward to hear from you what is the particular case of Vietnam in relation to airspace. Today in the presentation I'm going to show you first a very slight brief of what we do at DFS Aviation Services in relation to airspace within DFS Aviation Services and also within DFS Deutsche Flugsicherung. And then I want to go into details of two projects that we've done internationally at DFS Aviation Services. So I want to share with you the methodology we follow, but most importantly, what is the reality and the practicalities of implementing airspace projects. Okay? What are the steps? What are the key takeaways? What are the things that the manual says ABCD? Maybe the reality is a bit different. I've got some slides there, but I'm happy to move completely away from the slides and answer your questions. Towards the end of the presentation, I want to swap the cards, and I will be the one asking questions to you guys because I want to learn what is the situation in Vietnam in relation to airspace implementation. Where are you within the ASCII set of APTA? What are the elements that you've accomplished? What are your plans for those elements? And so on and so forth. Okay? Does it sound okay for you guys? Yeah. Right. Good. A little bit on myself. I'm Spanish. I've been in Germany, wonderful Germany, for 6 years now. I'm almost 40 years old. I've got 4 children, happily married for the time being. My background is I'm an airspace engineer, so I'm not only traffic controller. I've studied airspace engineering, but again, I'm from the dark side, let's put it that way. However, my career has been for a number of years within air traffic management. I started in consulting in Madrid for Deloitte, a couple of years. Then I moved to Dubai, following my girlfriend, now my wife. Worked 1 year in consultancy, and then I was lucky enough to join the ANSP there in Dubai Navigation Services. I worked in the department that was in charge of implementing projects that enhanced the capacity for Dubai airspace. Dubai Dance manages 2 airports, Dubai International, DXB, and Dubai World Rental, DWC. These airports obviously had and have a need to increase the capacity big time. So my role within DANCE was finding ways of increasing the capacity at these airports, more particularly in DXB and also in the approach area. So we were, my time there, I was in charge of fast line simulation. That is a tool to, like a video game, where you're modeling a scenario and you run the results and you find out what exactly is the outcome, whether something is good or bad. And I was also responsible of doing data analytics, so getting data from lots of sources to find out where the problems were and how things could be improved. Okay. Since October 2018, I came to Germany, joined DFS Aviation Services. I first started in the Department of Operations, helping my colleagues with the running of the regional towers here in Germany. But very quickly I got somehow moved into international projects, and I had the privilege of working in, at that time I started with a project in Argentina. My career started to develop, I got more responsibilities, and I'm now head of consulting of projects, which means I'm responsible for all the projects internationally for the company. Within all these projects that I've been privileged enough to run in the company, I'm going to talk to you about 2 projects today. I'm going to talk to you about the Argentina project, okay, which was for Buenos Aires, the capital city of Argentina, and I'm going to talk about a project in Athens, in the capital of Greece. Good. Yeah, I've already talked about the agenda. So briefly, just I want to give an oversight of what is the capability in terms of airspace within the DFS group. So I guess some of these facts don't sound new to you guys, but basically Germany has one of the most complex airspaces in Europe. Okay? The size of the German airspace is not enormous, but and it only accounts for 3% of the European airspace. However, we control last year just under 3 million IFR flights, which is a pretty big number. And in peak day, which was somewhere in July, we did almost 10,000 flights on that day. The airspace structure in Germany is in broad terms, and I've simplified this big time, okay? There are a lot of special cases and individual cases, but basically it builds itself from CTRs being class delta, okay? Outside of the CTR, we have inverted cakes, meaning the airspace grows in like a staircase on the other way around, with class Charlie, class Delta, okay? The aim of those inverted cakes is to protect the instrument flight procedures, okay? So that the IFR flights always remain within controlled airspace. Above flight level 100, the airspace becomes generally class Charlie, okay? Below those inverted cakes, this is one of the special elements of the German airspace, it generally has class Echo, okay? Until 1,000 or 2,500 above ground level, which then goes into class Golf, okay? I say the class Echo, it's pretty a characteristic of the German airspace, because in this class Echo, we provide a differentiated service, which is flight information services. Flight information services in Germany is provided by specialized personnel, not air traffic controllers. They are flight information service officers. Okay? By the way, this classification of the airspace, it's not at the desire or individual desire of each airspace designer in the DFS, but there's actually it's called a catalog, criteria catalog. It's a formal document issued by the government of Germany, where there's some specifications and some criteria, some facts that need to follow so that the airspace is somehow classified accordingly throughout the entire Germany. Okay? I said before, the class Echo is a special thing because general aviation in Germany is pretty important in terms of volume, but also in terms of political power. They have a strong voice, I would say, here, and for such reason, TFS and the state of Germany need to leave airspace for them as much as possible. Okay, so that's why we have this construct of inverted cakes. This is why we try to allow them to fly as much as possible. I believe general aviation is not that relevant in Vietnam. Is this the case? Is this possible?
General aviation?
Yeah.
Well, it's like the traffic in general aviation is increasing.
It's increasing.
Yeah.
Okay. So it will become a challenge. I mean, when you say it's increasing, are you able to manage it so far? Okay.
Well, at the moment, it's actually a challenge at the moment, and we also have problem with the classification of general aviation.
Okay.
We at the moment we classify because of the UAV, we classify. We don't know how to classify the UAV into we category commercial or general aviation.
Okay.
Actually, we separate them into a special category.
Okay.
And it's under and the problem is that it's not under our control. It's under the military control.
Okay.
General aviation as well.
Okay. General aviation as well. Okay.
Yeah, they get the flight permission from not from us but from the military body, and we just give them the navigation service when they are in our airspace.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the same priority as the IFR flight? Because I've learned, not in the DFS, but we also did a project for the Spanish ANSP in Aire. They were handling general aviation also with the traffic controllers, but they had the problem that obviously the traffic controllers had not unlimited workload or capacity, so they were focusing only on IFR traffic, and somehow the general aviation were put to the side, which was resulting in the general aviation complaining for the level of service. They were like, they are not answering, they are not providing a service, and it resulted in safety problems, because the general aviation was basically doing whatever they wanted, and infringing their spaces and infringing areas where they shouldn't.
I understand the question. Actually, in Vietnam, we also have problem with the priority of the flights. First, we have problem between the priority between the VIP flights and the military flights.
Okay.
In some cases, military flights they operate like near the airport, which the VIP flight operate. Okay. And actually, it's like we have to deal with the situation without any instruction and regulation. So we are like complaining to the Ministry of Transport about giving the instruction for the priority of flight. And the same happened with the general aviation and IFR flights. Actually, there's no concrete
procedure on how to manage things.
But in fact, our controller normally they give priority to the IFR flight and they give the general aviation just like few into that.
Yeah.
May I, just to get this right, because this is super interesting.
Yeah.
So as far as airspace categorization is concerned, do you have airspace Gulf in Vietnam?
The airspace one?
Gulf?
Yes.
You have Gulf. Okay.
Vâng. Có. Mình sẽ xác định lại em mình là xác định mình trở lại.
Yeah, we do.
You do, okay.
Yeah.
So and then what I got is that you said it's the military who's providing approval for a VFR flight.
Yeah, they do.
So I think on base of a flight plan which has been filed, right?
The flight plan.
So a flight plan. So they must raise their hand and say, I want to fly from A to B according to VFR.
Yeah.
So maybe based on a flight plan or a notification, whatever it is, and there is a military authority approving this flight.
Yeah, they approve the flight and they send the notification to the civil aviation body and to CAA, right?
Wow. Okay. So you have the information then, but you have no control.
No, we don't have control.
They don't ask for service. Please tell me the weather or something. They don't ask you Q&A, things like that. There's no.
And after that, actually, we provide service for them when they operate in our airspace, when they operate in the airport, and when they operate in the airport, for example. We give them we provide service for them.
Okay.
But outside of our airspace, we don't know where they are.
Okay, understood. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is one difference. I mean, in my view, the airspace classification is one part where you might have a different airspace classification, and also the procedure on, like you say, how you request the permission, and whether you can decide or have an influence in that decision, or whether you are given that decision as a given. Like, here's your flight. Control it. This is a picture of the German airspace, and here you can see the airspaces with Delta for the CTR. So you can see that in most cases the CTR is like a square box around the airport, okay? And above it you have this inverted cake, which is Charlie or Delta. That is somehow the general rule for the airports in Germany, especially for the international airports. Okay. Good. What are we capable within the DFS group? Okay. We have, in terms of airspace design and hyperspace design for Germany, okay, we have for the airspace design, we follow, like I said before, this criteria catalog, okay, that enables the decision about what kind of category I should design, what kind of sizes I should follow for the CTRs, and so on. This airspace design is done locally in the different ACCs that DFS has. Bremen, Karlsruhe, Langen, and Munich. Okay, so this thinking on the big picture is done locally because it is believed in the DFS that the local knowledge is more important than the applied design criteria. So that's why this is done in the local unit. And then these people coordinate with a central department here, located here in Langen, where they apply the hands-off design criteria to this conceptual design. Okay?
And you may remember that we were talking about the 6-step method of the GAMP-ASPU framework, right? And super important to define what is in the scope, what is outside the scope, and to run all this process not only at regional level, not only at national level, but also local. To understand there might be differences that may require a different approach. But at the same time, it's super important to pursue standards as much as you can. So this is kind of
this is the balance that is being you're welcome. This is the balance that is aimed for with this with these two kind of different units. Okay. For the international market, these services are provided by the local company, DFS Aviation Services, to whom I belong. We also do airspace design and we also do flight procedure design. Conceptual design, we cover the regional tracks, the volumes of the classification, and then based on this big picture that is agreed with the customer, okay, so it's developed with the local unit of the customer. Okay, this part of the local application, which is a good enhancement. So we come with the idea, saying we think this could be good, but then we sit with the individual local unit of the country that we're working in and say, okay, how do we make sure that this actually fits within your environment? After that has been agreed, then we apply the actual PANSOX criteria to the flight procedure design and do the airline flight. In DFS, we are responsible for 56 IFR airports and 2 IFR helicopter airports. So you can imagine the workload is high, but I would assume that it's also comparable to what you would have in Vietnam. In terms of the resources available in the DFS group, so on the left side, DFS Deutsche Lufthansa, mother company, they have 6 flight procedure designers. They then have 15 additional support staff that they help throughout some of the functions related to flight procedure design, like obstacle assessment, like regulation, like airport, and so on. They obviously produce and maintain flight procedures en route and terminal for Germany. And since 2019, they've been greatly focused in the implementation of PVM in Germany.
Anna, do you have a question? Okay, cool. Thank you.
Within DFS Aviation Services, again, we are focused on the international market. We have 4 qualified airspace and flight procedure designers, and we are focused on creation of the concepts and the later production of the flight procedures and the aeronautical. Obviously, this team is used on a demand basis, on a project basis. Okay, whereas these ones, they already have their work plan for the next 7 years until the European regulation on PVM comes into force in the year 2030.
Can you come back to the previous slide?
Yeah.
So the work of your flight procedure designer is to develop the concept, right? And then
Here?
Yeah.
Here, yes. So here it's a mix. It's one team doing everything. The concept, the flight procedure in applying the design criteria in detail, and the charts. So it's one team doing everything.
So actually, who will validate the concept?
These guys, together with the local customers. So for example, the ATM hires us, can you help us with the airspace design?
Yeah.
We come with a first proposal to you guys, and then we say, yeah, actually here we should do it, it doesn't make sense, look, we have a problem there, so we iterate it with you.
So you are the designer, and who is the customer? The customer is
It's iterating, it's giving feedback to our proposals.
Right.
So we come with a proposal 1 on the conceptual design, you say, actually this here, I'm not entirely sure, this is ID, we should debate, and then we come with a second proposal and a third proposal, 4th, 5th. At some point we say, we are good, we are happy, everyone is happy with that iteration, and then we move into the detailed design.
I understand. And for the detailed flies, when you finish the detailed fly, you do the chart thing too.
Correct. We do that. We do that for the customer. So we
only for people will all the design concept and add the detail.
What you have. Yeah.
And what software do you use for that?
We use FPDAM.
The same. The same.
FPDAM software. You use the same one?
Yeah.
Nice. Very good. Yeah. So yes, we we do with 4 people. Usually, as I said before, it's depending on projects. So if we get more projects, we obviously need to increase the team.
Okay. Can you? Well, I don't know if it's possible or not, but can you share the workflow of the design procedure. That,
For sure.
Yeah, the validation workflow.
We follow the ICAO. I mean, we don't do anything special. So you ask for the validation or you ask for the entire process?
Probably entire process.
I mean, I can tell you high level. It's the ICAO. We get the data, and this comes from the customer because we are doing for projects. We ensure that this data is of the quality that is required. So we do some sanity checks. We do some actual comparison and so on to see whether it works or not. We load this into the FPGA. We do the scenario, creation of the scenario. We start with the conceptual design. For conceptual design, we do not do the conceptual design in FPGA. We do it in MicroStation, which is like an
MicroStation, correct?
Correct.
The same methods. Yeah, we also do in MicroStation.
We agree and we iterate this conceptual design with whichever unit it is. Once it is ready, then we move into the FPDAM, translating this conceptual design into FPDAM to make sure it's valid. Once it is done and the designer is happy, the verification, so an independent designer verifies that design again to make sure it's valid. It gets approved by the customer, and we also then start doing the aeronautical chart.
So,
Same thing, one of the designer does the aeronautical chart, and then a verifier verifies this aeronautical chart. Then basically, since we do this for an ANSP, they are the sovereign body, so they need to approve, they take care of the IP publication and so on. Up until now, we have never done maintenance of procedures by a customer. So the maintenance and the review and the maintenance is done by the customer itself, but it would be a standard process.
Okay.
So pretty logic. I mean, the process is it's not we have not invented the wheel. I'm pretty sure it's very similar. We have not invented the wheel here. We follow international standard.
Ich verliere gerade die Hälfte der Mannschaft, ein bisschen schnell. Das wird jetzt ein bisschen langsamer sprechen.
Okay. Okay.
Super wichtig.
Okay.
Excuse me, this part is very important.
This part, which is important, we work together as a group. So we've got two separate teams, teams DFS Deutsche Flugsicherung, team DFS Aviation Services, but we enrich ourselves. So we exchange views, whenever there's a new regulation, we come and sit together, what do you think about this and that, and we have a close relationship.
So actually, the work of the SIG qualified procedure designer at DFS and the work for procedure designer at DAS are different, right?
Yeah.
What do the DFS team do?
What do they do?
Yeah, in the DFS.
Germany. New procedures for Germany, maintenance of procedures that are published for Germany.
Yeah. And the DAS,
International.
Okay.
All international.
Yeah.
This is interesting, isn't it? Because we are asked to support many countries. We just received a request from South Africa to provide up to 6 procedural designers for a couple of months, which is almost impossible for the time being. No one can afford that, right? But let's say this is the central intelligence. What Jorge said is super important that we have at our local facilities here. We do have qualified people contributing in terms of providing the local expertise, which then can be brought together with the let's call it central intelligence. I would like to say, So this is a good thing. How do you do that in Vietnam, if I may ask?
Well, in Vietnam we have like division is topography and flight procedure design division.
Mm-hmm.
They do all the procedure design.
Mm-hmm.
They consider like 3 or 4 people too, right?
I think Pak, you are one of those.
4 people, and then after they do the design, they produce the design, and we are the department of ADS department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We are the one who validate.
Okay.
So in the validation team, we have like 4 or 6, 4 or 5 qualified staff.
Okay.
And we do the validation.
Okay.
So after the whole process, the flight procedure design is like complete in our company in the VA camp. After that, we send to CAA for the final validation. When the CAA Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam, they validated the procedure design. They have to like contact with the military body, and they have to get the admission from the airspace owner, actually the military body.
Okay.
So the military body say that okay, good, this flight procedure can be like arranged.
Yeah.
So we will publish by the error on the AIP.
So you need to get permission from two bodies, from the CAA,
Yeah, and
then
from
for the military, and then you go into, okay, let's publish it in the AIP.
Yeah.
Okay. And within the team of the flight procedure designers, do they do the procedure and the chart, or the chart is done by AIS? Who does the aeronautical chart? Flight procedure designers.
Yeah, the procedure designers, they do the chart also on well, the same, I think the same as we do the conceptual design on microstation. After that, we get the run on Epidam, and after that, we do the chart on the drawing on microstation and produce a PDF file.
And these four instrument flight procedure designers are located in, for example, in Ho Chi Minh, the capital, or are they in the units? Where are they located?
In Hanoi.
In Hanoi.
In Hanoi.
Yeah.
So
they located in the AIS center, the
Yeah.
Center of Aeronautical Information Solutions.
yeah.
And they are just different buildings from us.
And how do you get the local knowledge?
The local knowledge?
Meaning, me, flight procedure designer in Hanoi, I can say this star is wonderful.
Yeah.
But then someone in Ho Chi Minh might say, no idea, sorry, you're missing this part and that part. So how do you get that local knowledge included in the design?
Local knowledge we get is when we, every step of the, like for example, the conceptual design, during the conceptual design we have the meeting between the designer
Excellent.
and the local,
Excellent.
and the towers and the ACC of the airport.
Yeah, good question. Very good. Okay. This would be exactly the same procedure we follow here. So you have central people, but then they closely liaise with the affected unit to incorporate their feedback into the process.
And there is, I could imagine, a strong requirement to be compliant to ICAO as well. Yeah.
We must follow the ICAO standard.
We must follow. So when we're talking about so-called essential services or the basic building blocks, this we would call the shelf, right? So this is the mandatory part. But how do we deal with SARPs, with standards and recommended practices, which go beyond the basic building blocks? So what is, when it's just a recommendation?
Well, actually, we try to follow everything that the document 8168 recommends. So that's the baseline that we follow.
Sorry, by the way, I have a question regarding to the how to automatically update procedure design into the AIP.
In here.
Because now we have trouble with from Epidam system into the AAM system.
That question I need to take offline because I'm not fully familiar how then the DFS goes into the AIS application. Unless Osman, you know about it?
Yes, and I have an idea, but however, we have a little surprise because it was not foreseen because we hadn't received information yet. On today at 1 o'clock, we will visit the center and we'll go to the Aeronautical Information Service Center.
Okay.
Yes, and there we will take the question and.
I don't know the nitty-gritty of that process.
I have a question about the obstacle assessment experts.
Yeah.
So, how do they manage the obstacle all around the shore?
What do you mean? How do they manage? How do they survey?
How do they make the data update?
So they have within the FPCAM software, they also have the database where all the obstacles are created and they are stored centrally. So that maintenance is ensured and that same picture for everyone is guaranteed with that database.
If like risk T-Dot, electronic entering obstacle.
Yeah.
They have a construction around the
Yeah,
airport.
yeah.
How do they get the data?
If there's a construction or something, someone wants to raise a crane or something, there needs to be a formal request to the DFS.
Do you have a share pool data between the stakeholders?
They need to raise a formal request saying, I want to put a crane here with this altitude, and then we approve it. And if it doesn't get approved, they cannot put anything up.
So what's about, like, for example, the natural development of the terrain, for example, like a tree
The tree
just
growing
behind, yeah.
So when we designed to apply some buffer, just increase, but at some point, if the tree becomes too wide, then you need to trim it and so on.
Really?
Trim it. But the obstacles are monitored over time to see that the trees are within there. But obviously, we apply some buffer because the design procedure, until you do the maintenance again, the tree will grow.
Because in Vietnam, construction around the airport, they only give an approval to military, and we do not.
Military get all the data and we get
This second
Very strong.
So we still find a solution to update the obstacle around data and also the terrain of the entire country. So how do you?
I mean, again, the military are not so strong here in that sense. The process mandates that if they want to create an obstacle, they need to submit the application to the DFS, and the DFS will approve, the DFS will issue a recommendation to the regulator whether to approve or not approve. It's a matter of the process, because an obstacle can affect the flight procedure design, the flight procedure, or it can affect the obstacle limitation services of the airport. So, yeah.
How about the terrain update?
The terrain?
The terrain.
How often they do the terrain updates? That question I don't know. I can ask, and I will let you know. Yeah, I need to ask my colleagues from the obstacle assessment department.
It's part of the website.
Yeah, but then they must be doing surveys every now and then. I'll check.
I think the terrain is only for the 5%.
I will ask them. I will give you an answer.
The terrain should be.
Yeah, you might think that's what I can find. Good. Last slide of this first part. I've taken some data from Eurocontrol, okay, which is a supranational body. This is, you can see Germany, okay, in both sides, and here we have 6 and stars and 3 approaches, and what is the status of the implementation of PPM, okay? So you see that in 6 and stars, in many of the airports in Germany, it's fully implemented, but there are some that is still in process, okay? This is why I'm saying that the team in TFS project are still, since 2019, working fully in the implementation of PPM, because it's still in process. For the approaches, most of them are already covered. However, this I like to point out, this is talking about conventional or standard PPM, meaning RNP1, RNP1, typical one. When we talk about RNP-AR, so advanced, RNP, Germany is still in process. So the big airports like Frankfurt and Munich, they do have it. But just this morning I was checking, for example, Berlin, and Berlin is the third airport in Germany, if I'm correct, and they don't have RNP yet. It's a big network of airports that need to be taken care of. So
about INPAR, so you follow which standard or INPAR?
which standard?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Because in Vietnam, we are trying to design the AIPAR for one like mountainous airport,
Mm-hmm.
and actually we don't see that like
The
the
protection areas.
protection area is still quite unclear, and we are not sure how to apply the ICAO recommendation to the INPAR.
Okay.
Because the CIA, our CIA, the Civil Aviation Authority, they just approve the procedure if the procedure is designed in compliance with the ICAO standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the moment the INPAR is still
In the process of
Yeah.
the standard is defined. I mean,
Yeah.
the ICAO standard is defined. So I don't see where the problem is. The interpretation of the ICAO is not clear. I mean, for us, it's.
So what is the issue then? So can you not really comply when you do the design? Is there something you cannot comply with because of the mountainous environment?
Yeah, so
Maybe height or something or distance or so. Is there something you cannot comply with?
well, can biết rồi. One second. Cái điện viên là mình bị ấy đúng không? Mình bị thế nào mà sau mình không
Cái điện viên hình như là liên quan đến độ dốc hay sao ấy.
gradient. Well, for the airport, our gradient is like beyond the limit.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
what I mean.
Okay.
So we beyond the limit of the regular procedure of the IMP procedure. So we apply the RPAR, but even with the RPAR, we are not sure that it can be comply with the RPAR or not.
Mm-hmm.
So we hire a consultation company and they give us a solution, but actually it doesn't really follow the ICAO standard.
Okay.
So
So there's some deviation to ICAO.
yeah.
Here in Germany, I believe there's some deviations to ICAO. They are notified in the ICAO, in the AIP. That is precisely to enable, for example, independent departures from some airports. But in the RPAR, I mean, I can check with my colleagues to see if there are any specific deviations, but I'm not aware of any.
This was my responsibility, by the way. It was called alternative means of compliance. So we do have a process here in Europe that allows us to come up with a maybe slightly differing solution, yeah, or just an alternative, but we have to provide evidence that it's safe, right?
So how do you assess that? How do you assess that it's still safe? You do the safety assessment?
As we were talking about on Thursday, I believe, right? It will be Anna taken care of. No, but you need to have let's say a kind of agreement with your CAA that this process will be supported. Yeah, but you have to provide a lot of evidences. But we need
more data.
More
Yeah,
into detail to understand what the issue is.
It's a matter of the PDGs, it could be the terrain. I mean, if you want to share some data with us, what is the exact example? Have a look at it.
Yeah, I have to look again as a procedure.
Okay. Good. So, like I just, my message here is Germany is still in process of achieving all the elements within the ASBU APTA. Things take time also there. So, when we come and say we're doing great, I think yes, we're doing great, but we still have a way to move forward to be even greater. Okay? Good. Some success stories, and I will go into details afterwards on the two of them. But I just want to share 3 examples of 3 projects. One which was done some years ago in the TMA of Leipzig Airport. Leipzig Airport is the airport where the courier company DHL, with the packages, this yellow van that you see a lot here in Germany, they bring packets to everyone. That is the airport where they have the hub. It's a 2-runway airport, parallel runways, where all the traffic, or most of the traffic, is at night time. The cargo planes arrive at night, they unload, and things get shuffled, and they depart again to their destinations, okay? So this TMA design aimed at increasing the capacity, and like you said here, this project expects an increase of capacity of 50% to enable the independent operation of the 2 runways in Leipzig Airport. Okay? This was a project done internally within the company DFS Deutsche Flugsicherung, okay? And since then, also more changes have happened in Leipzig, but it remains being a very important airport, especially for the cargo business. And here I have 2 examples of 2 international projects which I will talk in detail now. I've got more slides, and here you say more details. In Argentina, this is a project that we started in 2019. We were contracted by the ASP of Argentina. Buenos Aires is the capital city of Argentina. Within Buenos Aires, they have 7 controlled airports there. all with different runway directions. It's really crazy there. Civil and military. There was also some airports just solely used for civil aviation. Some airports had instrumental flight procedures, some others didn't. And they had a big problem with safety. And actually, unfortunately, they still have it. And we were the controllers there. So we were awarded this project together with 3 other companies. So we formed a consortium. And we followed ICAO 9992 methodology for an airspace design of the Buenos Aires TMA. Our job as DFL group here in this project was to first analyze what was the status quo. So what was wrong? Why were they having problems? Why were they having safety elements, safety concerns and occurrences and so on? So we flew there, we visited all the units, it was amazing. I must confess that visiting a military airport in Argentina, where someone comes with a machine and says, what do you want? It's fun. Then we were the responsible party for doing the conceptual design. So sketching where the new approaches 6 and stars should take place to enable a capacity increase to enable independent operations between the different airports. And this was the tricky part. Like I said before, runways where they were crossing one to another. So you had to play very, very carefully on altitudes and where to place the nominal tracks to enable as much as independence as possible. And we were also responsible for validating these designs. Validating the designs through fast-time simulation and also through a real-time simulation. In Argentina, at the time of that project, this was the first time that they were doing VBN. They had no experience with VBN. The only tool that the actors were using there was vectoring. Vectoring was the Bible. Vectoring was for everything. So the challenge here in this project not only iterated and so on, and by the way, this was during the times of COVID, so we actually had to do the conceptual design through the internet, through video conferences, which was a challenge, but then resulted to be actually a pretty good tool because it allowed us to talk more often with the units. But within the validation part, the challenging aspect also was to educate the controllers in this new way of doing the traffic control. We ran a 2 weeks real-time simulation, again, remotely. So their controllers were in Argentina, we were here in Germany, and we were responsible for planning everything and in the execution of the real-time simulation to monitor and provide the assessment and make sure that the objectives were being fulfilled. And the evolution throughout the 10 days of real-time simulation was pretty amazing. First day, everything was terrible. Second day, everything was terrible, but I liked this thing. Towards the end of it, you could see that the most resistant ATCOs were like, this is amazing, this is mind-blowing, I'm changing my way of doing work, I can actually handle double the traffic, and with this, where before I would have said impossible. The results of the fast-time simulation showed a reduction of 90% in the conflicts that were that would happen in the Buenos Aires TMA. More than 50% less truck miles, fuel savings of about 40 million euros of fuel per year. The results were amazing. The conceptual design was very good. The controllers were extremely happy with this. They liked it big time. And this was in the year 2022. The pity is that Argentina faces a great economic crisis. And to implement this conceptual design, they required a new ATM system. And till today, they have not managed to implement a new ATM system. And the last thing I heard is that they finally managed to secure a contract, and the supplier is going to implement the new ATM system. And hopefully, they will implement the new TMA by 2026. But since the year 2022, everything is ready. The procedure, the charts, validated, it's just they need to put it in operation. But they've got PDFs with the charts, everyone's happy, everyone's waiting. And if you do the maths, they basically wasted 120 million euros of fuel because of inefficiencies. And this could be a takeaway also that unfortunately, if you do everything correct, there are things beyond your control in your local environment that hinder things. that hinder successes. I do hope that this gets implemented in the year 2026, because like I said, I was leading this project within my team, and I felt very, very sad for the conditions of the aircraft control in Argentina. The technology they had was obsolete. The workload they were facing was incredible. The collaboration with the different airspace users was not very good. So you actually could hear in the radio sometimes the pilots insulting the ATCOs and vice versa. And this is not acceptable in terms of humanity, but also in terms of safety. This does not encourage a collaborative environment where problems are actually pinpointed and things get improved. I'll give you some details later about the methodology of this project. This other project consists of two parts in Athens, okay? Greece, so it's a country in Europe, a very, very touristic country. It's actually within the top 10 countries in the world, if I'm correct, for tourism. Athens is the capital city, an airport with two parallel runways that was doing in the range of 250,000 movements per year. They do not have independent parallel operations, so the runways operate independent one to another. Within the Athens TMA, there are 6 airports, one international big airport, but then there's a mix of military airports and general aviation airports. Again, within this unit, they had never done PBM before, so this was the first the first implementation of PBM. Their Bible was vectoring. They had some published procedures, but actually no one uses them because the nominal tracks that they had were not valid. They were not fit for purpose. So they were only vectoring the traffic. They hired us in the year 2023. A first project, which lasted 7 months, was to implement some PBM procedures for Athens without doing a TMA redesign. So the TMA airspace volumes classifications would remain, okay, and we're not going to make big changes on entry and exit gates. And for those ones, we were going to design some seat stars and approaches. I'll give you some details later, okay? I can only say that 7 months later, we designed 75 procedures, 15 charts. They were flight validated in Greece. We gave a familiarization training to the controllers that trained the trainers, basically to trainers there on these procedures. And on the 21st of March 2024, they went into operation. And ever since then, they are being used. So at least they have some PBM capabilities, and this we're talking about AirNav 1. And in approaches, they have RMP to ILS, which is helpful for them to transition. They have and then they have RMP approaches, LNAV, LNAV, VNAV, and LPV. Good. I'm going to go into some details of the Buenos Aires project, and here please make all the questions that you may have, okay? This is where I want to share my knowledge on the practicalities of doing these things, okay? The books say you have a methodology, you should do these things, but then the reality demands a bit of flexibility. So, this is the situation in Argentina right now, or at least it was the situation when we started the project. This is their main international airport, okay? Ezeiza is the name. This is the main national airport, Aerobank. One runway, 2 runways, cross runways. Then, basically, you have this airport, which is for the general aviation, the rich people in Buenos Aires, that they have their private jets and they want to fly. Military airport, one ex-military airport which was being used by a new airline that had a new private airline that had been formed, and an airport that is for flying schools. Okay, like you see, an enormous CTR class Charlie that is enormous, controlled from this tower. Okay, so a tower controller here was supposed to control all this airspace visually, because they had only rating for tower control, even though they had actually an air situational display, and they were actually doing approach instructions, but they were not ready for it. And another enormous CTR here, controls again from this tower, plus charting. And remember, we said there's lots of general aviation, and being class charting, then you have to provide air traffic control to all those flights. Yeah. All these are listed here, basically large CTR. High, low, regulatory DMA, the CTRs were up to flight level 5.5, and both of them here, very restrictive, safety concerns, inefficient. There was no PBN. Not all thresholds had instrument flight procedures, especially SITs, meaning they had to give instruction to every departure. And what I mentioned before, there was a rating issue in the tower units. Within us, we had a team of 4 people in this project, okay? Like I said before, we were 4 companies. Our part was to do the analysis of the current scenario, the new conventional design in terms of tracks and airspace, validate and validate this new conceptual design. The project was originally planned to last in the range of 3 years. Okay, this is the rough order of magnitude I always give to any ASP veracity. How long does an airspace design project take? 3 years. You can try in some cases to get it faster. It depends on the environment. It depends on how open is the regulator to new changes. It depends on whether you want to actually iterate things a lot internally, whether you want to talk with your airspace users often, or you just want to present facts. But yeah, you can keep that order of magnitude of 3 years in your head, okay? This followed the...
So this is our workflow, right?
This would be the workflow, this was the time schedule, okay? These are the 17 activities of ICAO 999.
You know that.
The ICAO 9992 methodology is what was followed for that project, with the 4 phases: planning phase, design phase, validation phase, implementation phase. We were responsible for this activity, for pretty much all these activities here, and the activity 11 validation. The project right now is, or has been since 2022, stopped here, okay? The main reason is the new ATM system. They need a new ATM system to be able to implement the new procedures there.
About A10 from ICAO navigation specification.
Yeah.
At this point, what do you do?
So here in the columns, you define I'm going to do RNAV 1, okay? And blah, blah. Here you do the actual flight procedure design. And basically here you confirm that you've done RNAV 1.
Okay.
So it's a formality, basically saying, okay, yes, we've actually designed according to what we wanted. This is there because it could be that once you start doing, for example, you say in the columns, I want to do RPAR. I want to go the advanced way. And then you realize that you actually cannot do that.
Yeah.
So then you would go here and say, yeah, we have not fulfilled what was said, but it's because X, Y, and Z, but at least it is documented and everyone is informed. The ICAO 9992 methodology aspires for a collaborative work. So it's not only the NSP drawing and designing something, but it's actually talking with the airlines, with the regulator, with general aviation, and so on. So you need to keep them in the loop, and this methodology somehow allows always closing the circle.
I just checked again about Vietnam, and the problem is not like about the ICAO standard, but actually it comes from our side.
Okay.
Because we already designed the IPAR at the moment, because actually IPAR will require different navigation avionics systems.
Avionics in the aircraft.
Yeah. So there's no aircraft that can like enhance to the IPAR at the moment.
Yeah.
So that's why our procedure is still on hold because it's like unrealistic to implement them.
This is, for example, in this methodology here in the activity 4, is one of the things to check there. What is the fleet capability? What are they equipped currently, and what are their plans on the airlines? So you actually ask the airlines, what are your plans for equipment in the future, so that you make sure that what you design here actually is implementable, or when you implement it, someone's going to use it. Because what you don't want to do is to invest 3 days of work, you come with an excellent RFPAR, and then no one is using it because they don't have it.
So actually, we have to do better in step A4 before we come over and then just come back and then see that well, there's no one to fly.
Yeah. I mean, I can only say from an international perspective, the Azure 992 methodology has been very good in my experience. I mean, there are some steps that if it's internal, you might want to go faster and you might don't want to go into details, but at least that you consider things. Okay, now I need to check what is the situation. In the current situation, I need to check the equipment. I need to check what are my assumptions about the ATM system and so on, so that you know that when you reach here, what you put in practice, it's actually being used.
But you said A4, so to analyze, understand the reference scenario is already a challenge.
Yeah.
And this, of course, is one.
Well, we miss the fact that we will have to to get we have to get the information from the stakeholder, including the allies. Not only their opinion on the procedure, but also we have to care more about the capability of their fleet.
The pilots, what are the strategic
What are
plans?
they capable of? So what is the equipment on board and all this stuff, training?
So that's why we do all the way, we go all the way and follow all the ICAO standards, and then we just don't go to anywhere.
Yeah.
Here, in these activities also here, you form what we call the airspace design team, which is not only the ANSP, but it's also the airlines, for example, and the regulator. This, to me, is the key of doing a collective project, and you drag the airlines with you, and it's no longer the VATM project, it's actually our project. And then they agree with you guys. So, as a team, you agree, what do we want to do? What is the new Hanoi TMA going to look like? What do we want to fulfill? What requirements do we want to address? What things we want to achieve? We want to do our APAR for this airport. Then it's a collective agreement. And then the airlines are also somehow buying this, and it influences their decision as shall we invest in being equipped for that? Okay? It's not an imposition from the ATM, it's a collective decision of the airspace design team.
And this is what the entire ASMO framework also requires in terms of a collaborative approach. And ICAO is doing the same thing with the FAPA and others, so pilot associations at top level. You have to involve the stakeholders.
If not, it comes out of the blue as a mandate to the airline, and the airline might say, maybe I like it or I like, but I don't have money. I have no time for this, so I can't do this. I need X years, and then things don't match in time, or they actually feel that they've been ignored, and they say, well, we pass. It's out of it. So yeah, this part of forming teams and going together. Yes, you will still drive the project as VATM, because in the end you are the ANSP, it's in your interest. But when you drive the project doesn't mean that you don't have the guys on your side.
Perfect example of what we have been talking about when we said, this is a perfect example when we were talking about, is it under your control fully or not? This is not fully under your control.
Yeah, of course it's not fully under our control.
Yeah. And this is what the process is, what it said. Is it under your control? No, not fully. So whom do I have to involve in addition?
Yeah, I understand.
You will be still in the lead. Yeah, no one will relieve you from that. But
in your case, definitely I would include in this team the military.
Yeah.
I mean, you've mentioned the 2 or 3 examples you've said so far. The military are always involved. You must have them here, even if they're not doing anything. Then they are informed of what's going on, and at some point they will become engaged. In the case of Argentina, we did not have the military in the airspace design team because the ANSPs decided against it. But for example, in the Athens project, which I'm going to tell you afterwards, they are within the airspace design team and within the core airspace design team, which is like a subgroup where you actually iterate the conceptual design. So it depends on the importance the military play in that local environment. So in your case, I would advocate that the military should be in all teams there, because at some point, if not all the work that you're doing might become useless. Okay, yeah.
Planning barriers is very
Is
important.
it,
Yeah.
is it,
Well, you think it's difficult to involve the military? or?
No, we just talk about the planning.
Yeah,
The planning barriers, I think it's very important in
Yes.
Vietnam.
yeah.
But you job project spend 4 years,
yeah,
but maybe midterm years only 2 weeks or at the end. So no plan.
yeah.
There is a difference. Yeah. So,
I mean, like I said, to me, rough number 3 years is sufficient.
Well, if I do one redesign project for 4 years, I will be fired from my position.
Okay.
Position.
It also could be the expectation. So sometimes management
you know, it's
underestimate things.
Yeah.
But if you start justifying, well, we need to discuss with everyone, we need to get the feedback of all the users, we need to agree what we want to achieve, it's not your view, but our view, then that's not counted. If you then want to validate the new design, this is everything. This is not just doing a chart. This is actually deciding what we want to achieve as a team. This is then drawing the chart. This is validating the chart. This is training the controllers. This is implementing this into the system. So it's much more than just one chart.
Well, actually, if you look at our protocol, our process for the redesign project, you will not believe in the time frame that we are planning. For example, for the getting the validation, we have 5 days.
Wow.
So actually, it's impossible for anyone to give any feedback that relevant feedback. So that's why that we go all the way for the RBAR and then we come back that no one's like. Because we get it from we send the list part of them to get the opinion in 5 days. How can they?
You cannot provide meaningful
Yeah.
opinion. You cannot iterate this properly, and then you end up like this,
Yeah.
doing all the work for nothing.
That's a fantastic opportunity. So what you may take back, the focus of this seminar is of course Gantt and Lasco, right? So, but this is beautiful. This presentation, I'm super grateful for it. You can take all this back to convince your management and tell them, look, this is, call it best or maybe better practices or some of the practices.
Some
right?
practices, yeah.
Some practices, I would say, where really very well qualified people trying to take almost everything which is needed into account, involving stakeholders. They need the time to do this and that. So take all these examples away. I think probably they can have a presentation.
Yeah, when I have the presentation, I will show them my manager this slide.
Yeah, very good.
And you will see this is one example, but then we have another example of a project in another part of the world. And again, we are talking about 3 years.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So
2 examples.
yeah, maybe with 2 examples, your management are a bit more open.
Yeah.
I'm willing to fly also to beautiful Vietnam, also to try and give another
Yeah,
presentation.
nice work.
If you can do that, I will be very grateful. You will release my pressure a lot.
Yeah.
The offer is there, so just reach out to me or to Hans de Jong,
Yeah.
we can contact and happy to fly there. Good. I think I'm taking lots of time, but I like to get your questions. So Justin, for example, oops, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Here. In activity 4, like I said before, deliverables that we created, this as is outed, what is the current situation in terms of the airspace, in terms of the aircraft fleet, what are the airfields, what are the flows of traffic, how is the CNS ATM environment, what are the ATCOs working. This kind of gives you the full oversight of what is the situation there, what are the challenges, what are the problems, what things need to be resolved. A faster simulation allows to quantify what is exactly the situation. So when you come to a project, ATCO A might say horrible, ATCO B says excellent. Which one to drop? Which one to actually says the truth, or which one to believe? And why use a subjective opinion if you can use a quantified opinion that says the current TMA results in X number of track miles, we have a delay of 30 minutes per flight, and we are having conflicts, and so on. This is hard facts. And you take away from the discussion, opinions.
You just mentioned half.
Yeah,
There's a human factor.
hard facts, sorry. Hard facts as in track miles, 54 track miles.
Yes.
Yeah, no, fast simulation we don't do human factors.
Yeah.
So these are things to quantify what are we having right now. Okay?
So you use add-on, right?
We use it.
แนะนำทั้งพวก fast fast simulation
Fast simulation. And we also define here some KPIs and key performance indicators on these areas so that we could assess whether the project was successful or not at the end of the project. Okay? So again, so that the project is not Jorge's opinion, the project has been excellent, but there's actually a framework agreed with the stakeholders how we're going to monitor whether the project is successful or not. We identified lots of things here to improve. So the LOAs, the division level, vectoring, not all runway thresholds are high procedures. The specification created lots of workload, a lot of conflicts. Blah, blah, blah. All these findings is what you gain when you do this detailed methodology.
It's not about implementation. It's about performance.
Yeah.
So this is of course necessary to understand what is the management in implementation, and you check mark and everyone is fine, or is it about performance? Right?
This is a very good point from Osman. In this project, and I would say also in the Athens one, management never understands what is this for. Why are we doing KPIs for the project? That's always the question, and I actually struggle to explain it. And I always say, if you don't have this, I could be lying. I could come and say, everything's wonderful, everything's happy, everyone, and then there will be no evidence. You're going to be using an opinion of a person to say whether something is good or bad. No, we take out opinions. We focus on performance. What is the data telling us?
Thank you.
So this is that part there. It is very, very important.
Yeah.
In activity 7 and 9, we did the conceptual design. So we basically covered amendment to the ATS route network, and we sketched new instrument flight procedures for all the airports and runways. We defined the new boundaries and class for the CTRs. We amended the boundaries class and entry and exit gates to the TMA. We did a new centralization, and we actually issued also recommendations. For example, a procedure for coordination of runway change among all the airports. Okay. Also important, and this is also why, in line with these 3 years, it's not doing a chat. You've changed the classification, you've changed the ATM route network, you've changed the sectorization, you issue things that you want to change in the way of providing air traffic control, coordinations, and so on and so forth. Coordinations also among the collateral units, so between ACC and approach. I don't know if your ATS units are separated. What are the level of the transfer levels, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of discussion. It's not a one-man job here.
Yeah.
I have here some visual examples. So these were the changes we proposed to the ATS route network on this thing that you see in blue. This is the Buenos Aires TMA. This was, for example, one of the new CTRs. This is for the phase factor with the 2 runways. So this was the shape of the new CTR with class Delta. You might remember that it was a class Charlie before, up to flight level 055. So we changed Delta tail to 500 above wind sea level. This was the conceptual design of the stars to the different airports. So this enabled independent operations between the airports with the different altitudes and so on. And this was the sectorization that we proposed for the TMA. Okay, this was the different sectors.
Based on like what criteria you define the shape and size of the aspect of the CTR or of the TMA or of the sector that you.
Okay, there is a part on we want to have instrument flight procedures always within controlled airspace. Okay, so that is a yes or a no by the customer. Generally, it's a yes. Then we have the premise of trying to have the CTR as small as possible, so that we free airspace outside of the CTR for general aviation that they fly.
Yeah.
Okay. Without contacting us.
Yeah. And about TMA sector.
And about the size of the TMA and why do we do a shape like this and like that, it's expertise. So within our team of flight procedure designers, there's also they have background as aircraft controllers.
Yeah.
So they also have their expertise on what do we think it's better to handle the traffic, together with the feedback from the local unit. So So that is a bit of experience. There's no kind of list of rules on how to do it one way or the other.
If you do, Anna, if you do a safety assessment, will you have some operational expertise at hand as well? So will the safety assessment supported by ADCOs from the unit concerned, or?
Cô ơi, cái thiết kế phương thức này bên chị có tham gia với phần sơ thẩm của bạn sao đúng không?
Yeah, the safety department they also do the safety assessment for the procedure.
Will this be supported by operational people from the operations, air traffic control officers?
Well, the involvement of the air controller is very limited in the procedure design. Well, that's
Yeah. Thank you.
For example, in this project, the safety assessment was not contracted to us, and the ANSP, the Argentinian ANSP, took care of the safety assessment themselves. And one of the learnings here is that they underestimate the safety assessment big time. They thought it would be just a checklist, because whatever, and the change is enormous. I mean, you can imagine, we're not changing only the procedures, we're changing the airspace classification, we are changing the sizes, we are changing how the tower controller coordinates with the approach controller, we are changing the way the approach controller works. Instead of vectoring, to follow actually published procedures and give the direct clearances. Basically, we changed everything.
And again, based on what criteria you define the airspace classification?
We, like I said, we brought the experience of Germany, where we said we have delta for the CTR, we use inverted cake, we put echo under it for the general aviation can fly without disturbing.
Is there any discrete criteria? Like, for example, if you have more than 1,000 flights per year, the class must be from D to C, for example, like that.
I think it's not such a clear cut. There's a criteria. I could check the criteria of Germany.
We do have. It's here we again encounter maybe some political issues as well. So we do have airports in Germany who would have liked to apply the same approach.
Yeah.
But this would infringe the freedom of general aviation, and therefore we were asked not to pursue this standard approach. We should, right? So, but as a standard or in general, this is the way to go, just to protect the IFR operations at a given airport, right? So this.
So actually,
please.
So actually, is this there's no discrete number, but based on the demand, right? Okay.
I'm happy to share this criteria catalog with you, but there's no discrete number. But there's some premises to follow. This is what you should aspire, but then the reality sometimes comes, the local reality, and the strength of general aviation, which I said before, is very, very strong here in Germany. It will work.
But as long as there is a kind of, let me call it standard, you should just follow. Yes. And then you can let's say, have the discussion and the conversation, and you will end up with a compromise or whatever. But at first, you should start with the standard. Yeah. And now that it should be seamless, it would be great if pilots coming from Frankfurt may be allowed to find a kind of comparable environment, to put it this way. Yeah, this is what seamless means in terms of ICAO. Expect, if not the same environment, in terms of airspace classifications, procedures, something like this. Yeah.
So actually, like, you mean that here, like, we should make the pilot feel the same as every.
As far as possible.
Yeah. For example, between Thailand and Vietnam, they will not expect a very much difference between two countries, right?
Correct.
Therefore, you have the volume 3, right?
Yeah.
And this is where the performance ambitions are agreed. On regional, you don't do that at national level, you do it at regional level. And this is where you should look at volume 3, which is totally outdated, as we figured out, right?
Yeah.
So this is something the CAA should have a look at, to update and to define the requirements, and then you can pursue let's say, work oriented on these requirements.
Yeah.
So this is the seamless FX plan you know?
And
Okay, very much based on volume.
Within activity 11 of this project, so validation, we then did again a faster simulation where we quantified what is the result of the new TMA. Again, we take away personal opinions. These are facts on quantifying how will the safety level be like, looking into the conflicts, what will the track lines be, what will be the delays, can we achieve a greater runway throughput, and so on. We also did, in this case, we were asked to do a 3D model of the expected flight trajectories to see how they look visually. This was a bit more marketing, actually, I must say. It doesn't really bring much because every aircraft flies with a different profile, but it was a bit marketing. It was needed. It's actually pretty fancy. You can move up and down. You can see what the sectors are and so on. This was created for political reasons.
why? Why for a political reason?
Because our aviation, our industry is a very technical industry. When you go to a local politician, they have little understanding. Definitely was the case in Argentina. They had little understanding of what we were talking about. So they were facing issues that the local mayor of a small city next to Buenos Aires was approving a skyscraper because this would give him a lot of marketing. With this little model, at least we aimed, okay, if you approve that skyscraper, look, this is where you're going to affect that procedure there, and he or she would actually see it.
Okay, can we have 1 minute?
Yeah.
Cái Terra Explorer này thứ nhất là không có, nhưng mà cái này trước dùng để cá tầm phủ, chạy cái cá tầm phủ.
Giờ lại không dùng để xem 3D model.
Thì cái này nó là mô phỏng 3D dựa trên nền tảng X của mình thôi. Thì xem
Của
nó
mình có
giống
một cái-
như của anh.
Có một cái khóa này bên có một cái là chỗ anh hiểu là có cái Terra Explorer này.
Cũng là Terra Explorer.
Nó thằng của bản đồ nó
Nhưng mà cái 3D của cái SV cũng làm mà. Cái tool 3D Airport nó hit cái này chủ yếu nó run cái phần sân bay.
hoặc là Google
We just discussed about the Terra Explorer. We also have Terra Explorer. But actually, we don't use it to build a 3D model. If you have a model, like a sample model, you can show us.
Yes, assess the range of radar.
Maybe it's not very, you can't see very well. I can send you a picture offline of how it looks. Basically, it's the Explorer. We had the belt view, you have the nominal tracks, and then what we had is a spectrum of the performance, the vertical performance. The lower spectrum was the lowest flight procedure design PDG based on the design gradient, okay? Because that's the minimum. And then the upper spectrum, we were using BATA, which is a database from Eurocontrol for performance of aircraft. So we were taking the most common aircraft that was flying in that TMA and saying what would be their average performance. This is why I say it's a bit marketing, because you would say that most of the aircraft would be between those two spectrum, but you could have one aircraft that would be above because it performed way better than the other one. So, yeah, the upper limit is not really an upper limit. It can be anywhere, but it looked pretty nice.
We never apply
You cannot apply?
we never apply the Terra Explorer in that way.
I mean, I say this helped big time in explaining things to at a political level, and was also created with the aim of preventing future. So basically, to hand this over, because with Terra Explorer, then you can then export it into Google Earth, so commercial off-the-shelf software, and to provide this to the relevant ministry in Argentina, so they could actually have a look at things before approving.
Well, because I think that if you're now able to have something like 3D model to model the air route, actually we can get it will be easier for us to get the approval from the military body, because at the moment we just present them the flight procedure design with with a nominal root and the buffer area. And whenever they see the buffer area infringe their area, they will just
They will say no.
Yeah.
They don't check out the vertical profile.
Yeah. So
Yes.
actually we have the free model and it's limited to the minimum and the flight profile. It will be easier for them.
This is why, this was the case in Argentina. This is a tip for you guys. If it helps, I would encourage you to try. If the objective of the 3D model was, for those that are not familiar with what is purpose design, to somehow give them a bit more understanding. Some pictures here, so this was the real-time simulation that was done in Argentina. This is what I was seeing from here, from Germany, because we had to be very creative. We had at some point even smartphones with a tripod behind the controllers working, and we connected through Teams, seeing what the work was. I must say, sometimes being creative is very technical. This is a snapshot or an extract of AirTop of the Athens TMA, the Buenos Aires TMA, the new TMA. So you can see that the style was being followed with some also some shortcutting and so on. And the color coding corresponds to the altitude of the aircraft. So this also showed that we were actually following a continuous descent and so on and so forth. And this we did also a CRM on the ILS procedures for the ground configuration.
So you do the CRM on the Epidam, right?
Yeah. Limitations. I said before, foreseen to happen in 2026, meaning 7 years since the project started. Terrible. Terrible also because it might mean that the situation in Argentina is completely different to what we designed, and might mean that all those procedures of that effort is basically going to the bin because what was the situation in terms of traffic, airport, and so on at that time may be different. I hope it's not the case. We worked pretty hard, but this is a possibility. The reason I said before, they need to upgrade the ATM system, which was outside of our project, and therefore we are only waiting for that implementation for that new ATM system so that we can basically cut the ribbon of the new Buenos Aires TMA.
This would be an interesting question, right? So the implementation of the upgrade of the ATM system has been understood as an important enabler for the implementation, right? Important enabler. And then you define your blocks, and it says standard is 6 years, 5 years. You're running out of the block, right? So what would you do then? You understand that the enabler will not be in place at the time you need to implement because you have defined or agreed on this performance ambition. You want to achieve this higher level of performance. So what would you do then?
Sorry. The vấn đề we follow the block.
Nó thiết kế một chút bay và trong cái đó nó ATM nó không đáp ứng. Thì bây giờ nó lại phải đi nâng cấp hệ thống ATM. So actually, the problem is, so when you design the PBN IFP, at that moment, do you do you foresee that the ATM system at that time will not compatible with the PBN procedure?
So within the IQ 992 methodology, in the activity 6,
Yeah.
you define the CNS ATM assumptions. And within that assumption, you say the new system will be ready in 2 years. And then you say, okay, I've got time since the project starts, till that is ready to have that in place.
Actually, the project is delayed, right? Correct. Yeah.
So if that's a good project, like what Osman was saying, what happens if you've made an assumption, there's going to be a new system, and as your Airspace project progresses, you realize that the other one is not materializing. And this is why, for example, in activity 6, agreeing on those assumptions, it's essential that it's not VATM making the assumption, but us all. Because if you design and redesign based on what is coming, you have a risk. A risk that might be completely outside of your control. So sometimes instead of going into RMPAR, you might want to say, I'm actually going to design at a lower specification, but I am free of that risk from an external force.
This is extremely important. The other thing is, if you travel and you talk to people, I myself was responsible for 2 implementations of new systems, and we were always delayed, always. You know? And there are so many things you have to take into consideration, and then you will encounter so many situations you may have not expected, right? So it's quite risky. You can do risk management, it's quite risky. So what could be the alternative? So I have the feeling, maybe I'm totally wrong, I have the feeling that you are striving for the implementation of things when you, on the other hand, have not yet implemented standards. So this is something, and therefore to define the right ambition and to be successful, yeah, will be much more efficient.
And aiming for top-notch things that might not...
For the ATMs, yeah. Then as if you would strive for whatever, block 1, block 2 already, yeah, or the concept Jorge is presenting today. So this is, what is your ambition? And remember, we were talking about smart. It must be relevant but achievable.
This is something we faced in this project and also in Argentina. Management wanted a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Always they wanted a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Or we want RMPAR.
Yeah.
And we were very strong in saying, what Osman just mentioned, for a Ferrari, you need all these things to be in place in 3 years' time. If one of these things is missing, the whole project fails.
Yeah.
You decide. That's why you have Activity 6. We've all agreed, so it's not GFS Aviation Services saying we're going to do RMPAR. We agreed to accept that risk that we might fail in the project because the other things are not ready.
And if you fail, it's much more worse than aiming at the intermediate level, that we call it like this, and being successful.
So we always advocated to go a bit more conservative, so that we give a greater benefit to the community, rather than just doing the best for one airline that is equipped, and so on and so forth. Good. Lessons learned from this project. The level of development of air traffic services is very different here to Germany or to Europe, but I think this is not only the case of Argentina, it's worldwide. Level of understanding of some working techniques needs to be checked before you run into, I'm going to do RMPAR. Are we ready? Are the procedures ready? Is the mentality ready? Do we have the tools? All those things need to be checked before you say, I'm going to do RMPAR. In the case of this project, we partnered with several companies to do the work. This was really pretty challenging. There was a lot of coordination, but this was that specific project. Remote work for airspace projects is feasible, cost efficient, and actually quicker. So you might think, hey, I need to sit with my local unit every day. Well, no. You can actually, thankfully, we've got technology nowadays that you can have a video call and you actually work with that person. And with this kind of smart board, you actually can draw things, and it's like the person was in the room. Not exactly the same, but can mitigate the barrier. This you mentioned before, time buffers. We need to be realistic. You need to give time for people to react and provide feedback. If you want to work as a team, then you cannot say send the requirements and say, I need your answer by tomorrow. This is not team. This is not realistic. This is you imposing something. If you actually want to work as a team, then wait for feedback, ask for feedback, let the others know and feel that their feedback is being considered. It doesn't mean you will accept their feedback. Okay? Yeah. So I've had in Buenos Aires, we've had airlines saying, oh, we don't like this design, we just want a straight line. Fine. No, we can't do a straight line because X, Y, Z. You address that feedback. You make sure that that user is being felt that they are being heard. But doesn't mean you need to accept the feedback. Most likely you will actually ignore the feedback. Not ignore. You will actually not accept it because in the end the flight procedures of the new airspace is being controlled by the controllers. So their opinion counts significantly. And the airline will have a very kind of tunnel view of their specific operation, okay? But sometimes they actually have a pretty good feedback. For example, we had feedback about fuel planning, okay, in the airline. So in the case of Buenos Aires, we were proposing a transition to finance concept, which basically it's like doing corners where you can do direct to, so you are putting a holding and basically stretching it out into a horizontal path. And the airlines were concerned on how do we do the fuel planning? Because in the holdings they do not need to plan for certain track miles, so they assume the holding it's on the fuel planning. And now with this actually transition to finance, they would have had to plan 20 nautical miles of fuel. So this was valuable feedback, and we gave also opinions on how we do this in Germany, where we publish in the EIP recommended values for fuel planning to the airlines. So they don't need to plan the entire trombone with all track miles, but the recommended value. And if you want to be fast or faster, have the Airspace designer, the one that does the conceptual design, and the flight procedure designer, the one that applies the design criteria, working together. Good. Let's jump into the second project. Okay.
So this is super rich. Like Lan asked us to go to all the threads, and once in a while, maybe only on your priorities to provide this insights. Right? I think this is very rich what Ollie is giving us today, is presenting us today. Do we need a 5 minutes break and talk can be set for Greece, or can we just continue? What do you think? Well,
Okay, 5 minutes break.
5 minutes?
5 minutes break, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Need time to make it call.
Sorry, I'm taking too much time.
Toán ngành thứ ba. Đấy, quy trình vai cao đấy.
Năng suất quá.
Mỗi việc tuân thủ cái người ta đã ban hành tuân thủ mà đưa gì nghĩ là quy trình sáng kiến.
Của mình 22 sân bay là trong bao lâu nhỉ? Từ bắt đầu từ bao giờ?
Anh tính sơ bộ mỗi tháng cái.
3 năm mà tới 19 cái kế hoạch gì đến 2022.
3 năm mà mỗi sân bay mấy phương thức mà.
Sân bay bay phương thức một sân bay 19 một quý. 3 tháng.
Nên là anh
gấp 10 lần tới.
Mình là quá giỏi luôn.
Anh nhầm 2 tuần một project đúng không?
Tại vì nhà mình mấy cái đấy không gọi tên là dự án đâu. Còn kêu là thiết kế mà không phải là
Đấy
dự
là
án thiết kế
mình
đâu.
làm đoạn job thôi, còn
Vâng.
cái dự án là bọn anh lập trước đấy 30 năm rồi. Cái phần planning
Thực ra bản chất cái này nó là bản chất của mình, nó là dự án còn gì nữa. Tất cả các bước mình phải đối tất cả các bên liên quan cũng phải liên quan.
nhưng mà những cái là được tính từ trước rồi. Cái phần mà plan của mình ấy, là xin kinh phí là có trước rồi và có sẵn trong đầu sếp rồi, chỉ cần lúc đấy bảo làm là làm thôi. Ví dụ như là dự án Long Thành là nó có thể là có cái đây 15 năm rồi
Lúc đấy chỉ là
thì lúc đấy là em phải có plan rồi.
chứ phải là mình thực hiện dự án thôi.
Kiểu
như cái dự án to là làm VPN cho nguyên cả Việt Nam đúng không? Ví dụ dự án Long Thành Tân Sơn Nhất ấy, hoặc là dự án Nát Vung cho
thì cái đấy
một đài ấy.
nó phải có các cái gói thiết kế thứ bay này hết rồi.
Vâng.
Chỉ là đến lúc mà triển khai thì nó ném vào đầu mình thôi.
Cái mà 2-3 ngày giống như 5 ngày giống như Cương bảo là cái lúc đấy là thực hiện rồi.
Kể cả thực hiện thì đâu có bọn này nó thực hiện
Lại còn thực hiện shortcut nữa.
Nhưng mà cái đấy cái tất cả các hệ thống của mình là không có project của anh cả, vì không có thời gian để làm việc. Mình là nghiệm thu bằng hồ sơ.